Good morning. This special meeting of the Board of Trustees on July 29th, 2025 is now called to order. It is 11:01 a.m. Our first agenda item, if we have no public comment, is there any public comment? No? Our first agenda item will be the consent agenda. Will anybody be pulling anything from the consent agenda? No? That said, all in favor? I move to approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's all in favor and none opposed. Consent agenda passes. This meeting ends at 11:02.
Can we just go back?
Yeah.
I didn't hear your second.
Yes, sorry. Sorry, go ahead, Leah.
Motion to
Actually,
approve?
I wanted to pull something from the agenda, the consent agenda.
Okay.
I wanted to pull item 5. So item E5.
Is that E5?
E5, yes.
E5. Trustee Cole?
Do you want to entertain a motion on the rest of the consent
Yeah,
agenda?
let's go ahead and
with-
do that. Do you have a second for the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Susie.
You're welcome.
We good on 5? Can we get an explanation for the rationale as to why the district historically has declined to allow homeschooling students to participate in sports?
Sure. Good morning, Board President Hanani, board members, Interim Superintendent Ms. Aguirre. My name is David Cervantes, Executive Director of Athletics. Just a brief summary of what we've historically done in EPISD and what a lot of the school districts have done across the state of Texas is that we don't allow homeschool students for various reasons. One, there's not a funding source that comes with a homeschool student. That's our first and foremost biggest issue that we have with that. Secondly, eligibility for UIL. That's done in the classroom with teachers. With a homeschool student, that is done at home with a parent. So it's not the same equity that our students that are sitting in the classroom have compared to a student that's getting the instruction at home. Another thing that we also have to take into consideration is cost for equipment, travel, and fees. These students do not incur any type of fees. The fees that are incurred to play extracurricular activities are also incurred for a homeschool student. So our stance is that we encourage all students to be full-time students in our district so that they can participate as a whole like the other students there that would participate with them on their team.
Is there any way to charge like an extra fee for a homeschooling student that wants to be on a team for uniforms or for travel?
My understanding is that if we incurred a charge, it would be for all students and not just for homeschool.
Here's the problem I have with this. Thank you for your explanation. I understand where the district is coming from now. I've always thought this rule was kind of odd, and I've been reached out to a number of times by some homeschooling families about this.
Sure.
I understand that there's no direct funding source for this. However, like, these people live in our communities and they pay taxes.
Right.
That go towards the school district, either directly because they're homeowners or indirectly because they're renting somewhere. However, to me, it's a fundamental issue of fairness. I think it's fundamentally unfair that families live in our community and pay taxes and don't get the chance to participate in extracurricular activities, particularly sports.
Right.
And another thing that I've been thinking a lot about is that I'm in sales, and from a sales perspective, if our goal is to recruit more students to offset the declining enrollment in our school district, I would want as many students participating in sports as possible as a recruitment tool.
Sure.
Because, you know, if you go into the psychology of homeschooling families, I think a lot of them have a distrust of the public school system.
Yeah.
However, if they participate in sports, I think a lot of that distrust can be dispelled, and they'd be a lot more likely to enroll their kids at some point in the future. So, any reaction on that?
Well, I think the other thing that we consider also as a school district is that the UIL looks at homeschool students through a different lens. So one of the things that they've told us in the past is every time the UIL realigns school districts on a 2-year basis. So this coming October at the snapshot, they're going to look at school districts and they count each student as one, right? But if we allow homeschool students, there's a possibility that they count each student at 1.5, which means a school can jump in conference significantly if we start allowing homeschool students, which could put us at a competitive disadvantage. So, for example, if we have a school that has 800 students, and we are allowing 50 homeschool students to participate at that particular campus, that would count as 100, putting their number up to 950, which could potentially put us in a higher conference from the 4A to the 5A level, and that could make us our students, all of the students at that campus, participate in a conference that they really shouldn't be in. So that's another consideration that we take when we look at this.
So each homeschooling student that enrolls in an extracurricular activity counts as 1.5?
1.5 by the
For
UIL.
eligibility purposes?
Yes, and for enrollment purposes as well. So when they realign the school districts, what they do is they take the enrollment and they get approximately 60 schools per state and put them in each conference. Allowing homeschool students would potentially cause a school to jump into a conference that they don't belong in.
Do you have any estimates at how many homeschooling students would choose to participate in?
I don't. I can tell you that from experience, I've spoken to 2 homeschool students over the course of the 4 years. And when we explain our stance and the rationale behind it, we've gotten both of those families to join our schools full-time. That's just a little bit of information on what I've done personally in the last 4 years. We have one inquiry as of today with this new bill, but we have not heard out of the athletics department of any other students interested in coming in.
I think that this is not going to help our enrollment, so I'm going to be voting no on this.
Thank you, Trustee Cole. Are there any other questions from any other board members? Trustee
Yes, yeah.
Trustee Leverage, and then
Oh,
Trustee Coyer.
Yeah, just a quick question regarding what are other local school districts doing on this matter right now? Do you know?
So all other school districts in the El Paso County have either opted out or are in the process of continuing to opt out.
Thank you. Trustee Coyer?
So I just want to make sure I'm reading it right. I think, so what Trustee Call had stated, so on slide 31, with the handbook that we were given during the legislative update, right, says Senate Bill 401 requires rather than allows a public school to provide an otherwise eligible non-enrolled student the opportunity to participate in UIL activities. The school board adopted a policy declining to grant the opportunity to participate. So the Board of Trustees may adopt a policy declining to grant. Unless I'm reading this wrong, and this might be a question for our legal counsel, Ms. Collins, but if it's requiring us to have those students allowed to participate in UIL activities, it just seems like that slide is maybe counterintuitive or it's contradictory, so.
So basically what it's saying is that the school board has to adopt a policy if you are not going to require them, so allow them to participate. So you have to have the policy in place. And that's why it's being brought.
So, but as of right now, the status quo is that non-enrolled students cannot participate in
Correct.
OIL activities.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
But based upon 401, HB 401, does that now require us to allow the students to participate in UIL activities?
If you did not pass the policy,
Then it would.
Right.
Then it would. But which is why the opt-out provision could be
that's
there.
exactly right.
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay. I just wanted some clarification, okay.
Thank you, Trustee Claire. Any other questions? Trustee Sutton?
Yes. Can I ask questions to fellow trustees? Or is that not allowed?
You can have discussion on the dais,
Yeah.
but your questions should really go through the board
Yeah,
president.
Okay. I was just curious about the stats that Trustee Call, he seems to have more experience with homeschool families, and so I was just curious to know why a homeschool family would be interested in the school district, the public school district, when it comes to sports or activities rather than private clubs that they can pay for? Like, what's the draw here? Like, I just wanted to understand, like why us versus something that they can maybe pay for?
Yeah, statistically, I don't have any statistics on it. It's anecdotal, just from private conversations, one-on-one with community members. But some of them, I mean, I can't speak for all of them. I'm just going to tell you about anecdotally. It may be an affordability issue. Like private sports are extremely expensive and they can't afford it. And some of them want their kids to socialize with the public school children because they may want to rejoin the public schools eventually. Like, for example, let's say a kid is interested in basketball, like I was when I was a kid. They would want their kids to participate in a middle school basketball team so that once they get to high school, a lot of homeschooling families or even, charter or private schools want to put their kids in public schools for high school. So they want the kids to get to know the other basketball players and to socialize with them. That's kind of the main thing.
Does that answer your question? Yes, okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I do. How many homeschoolers do we have within EPISD, and is it really going to affect the numbers, how you said, to where it's going to be so astronomical that it's going to be too expensive to get these homeschools students?
I think is it like in the boundaries, do you mean?
Oh, I don't believe we'd have that information on hand currently.
Can you turn on your mic? Sorry.
I can't imagine that there's too many homeschools, percentage-wise. So you take that percentage, I'm sure it's going to be low compared to what is already attending school. Now, not all of the homeschoolers want to go and do some sort of sporting, so you're going to take that percentage, it's going to be essentially cut in half. Now, again, I don't know these numbers, and these are all just off the top of my head, but I just can't realistically fathom the idea of all these homeschool kids coming in and making such a hiccup that it disrupts the pay for all the other kids that are attending school. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense, but I just would like to go back to kind of thinking about our students that are enrolled and their requirements that they have to follow. They have to make sure that they're eligible in every course. They have to go to a major sports class on a daily basis. And we cannot hold a homeschool student to those same requirements. So our students that are in class, that are going to be part of a team with a homeschool student, are putting in could potentially be putting in an extra effort, extra work, extra time. And then we have a student show up after school and want to be part of the team exactly how a student that's enrolled in a full-time with us is doing on a daily basis. So that's the mindset I think that we look at when we're looking at this opt-out option.
So a lack of a certification on the homeschool student is what you're saying? There's no way of certifying their grades?
Yes, sir,
And
correct.
allowing them to participate with the...
Yeah, and also practice scheduling. The UIL is strict in ensuring that students only practice 8 hours per school week. And we can ensure that and track that to the coaches that work at the schools. And there is no way for us to verify that through a homeschool student. Now, if a homeschool student during the day is practicing, and then comes and practices with their team after school, that can jeopardize the whole entire team. At that point, the whole entire team could be ruled ineligible should there be an allegation that the students are practicing over their limit. So there are other areas that we have to consider when
Okay,
we look
so-
at those type of things.
So homeschooling kids are the only ones that will be participating in extracurricular activities outside of school. Let me rephrase that. Homeschooling kids you're worried that they are going to a private club and are going to jeopardize the UIL rule that you're talking about?
There is that possibility, yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
As a follow-up question to that, couldn't any student participate in a private, sports club or practice at home? Like, I think that's a risk for any student that
Right, yeah.
participates in
there's-
sports.
Definitely it
shouldn't
is,
be
but the-
segregated to a homeschool student.
Right,
Every
but-
student that participates in EPISD
Mm-hmm.
programs has a potential of breaking those same rules.
Can
So
I-
you're segregating the homeschoolers, saying that they're the ones that's gonna cause the problem.
Could I get some, point of order, could I get some clarification on the UIL, it being during the school hours? Can we get some clarification? I don't believe, and can you clarify whether this applies to private clubs that are happening after hours or additional practice time?
Right, so I'm, go ahead. Talking specifically during the school day, you're correct.
So I want to give a brief anecdotal story myself. I've had one parent reach out to me as a trustee asking if the district, asking or inquiring why the district didn't explore the opt-out provision. And when the parent was explaining his rationale, the parent mentioned that they would like to have their child practice all day and then participate with, so that was, and I don't believe the parent understood the potential ramifications, but I think there's a significant risk, just because that was the one story that came my way. But I do want to ask, real quick, and I'll ask if there's any additional questions. Do you know of any other large urban school districts that allow homeschoolers to participate in UIL in their school districts?
No, do not.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Could any other questions before I make a motion?
A quick question.
Trustee Call?
Thank you. On the grades part, so if I understand your concern, you're concerned that a parent would potentially, misrepresent the grades of a homeschool student so that they would be eligible to participate in sports. Is that kind of the concern here? Or
I don't know that it would be necessarily that. I think it's just the fact that the students that are in school are issued a report card that is verified by our coaches, and that system is not in place for a homeschool student.
I have a quick
Yeah,
comment.
sure, trustee Beals?
I homeschooled my kids for a couple of years, and when I re-enrolled them into public schools, there was a form that I needed to fill out with each of their classes and grades, if they passed or did not.
Sure.
Why couldn't we do something similar to that? I mean, me as the parent or whoever homeschoolers hire to be their teacher, why couldn't we do something similar so that we can keep track of grades and still allow the homeschool students to be able to participate? And I mean, my family has a huge history of homeschooling. All of our cousins and everyone has been home taught, and once they got into high school, they were able to go and play high school sports, and then eventually ended up being enrolled in high school. So I guess my question would be, why couldn't we do something similar to that where we could keep track of their grades?
So a system would need to be developed if that were what the recommendation is going to be.
So it's doable.
To be able to create a system that follows the UIL calendar, which is, that is based off of every 3 weeks. So grades are checked on a 3-week basis for student eligibility for athletics.
Okay.
And they follow a specific window by season and by sport.
Okay, so it's definitely doable. We just have to
It's something we could look at
implement it
developing.
Okay.
Trustee Call?
Yeah, sorry, one last comment here, and then we can vote if everybody's done. I know this seems kind of like it's coming out of left field, and I guess it's something that I've always kind of had in the back of my mind, and it's something that I'm kind of passionate about, because when I was in middle school, and this, Trustee Sutton, this kind of hopefully helps clarify what I was referring to a minute ago. When I was in middle school, I was having some problems academically and socially, and my parents chose to pull me out of school for a time, and so I wasn't enrolled in the local school district. However, I don't know what the policies were in the school district I was at, but I was able to play basketball still, and that was really a social lifeline for me at the time, and eventually it reminded me of what I was missing at public school, and within a few months, I think when I went into 8th grade, I rejoined public school. So I was really thankful for it at the time. And I just want the kids in our community to have that blessing like I did.
Sure, and I will go back to something I stated earlier, which was, that's the messaging that comes out of our office anytime that we have a parent inquire, is that their students, we encourage them to enroll their students so they could have that experience that they have being with their teammates and their peers throughout the entire school day, so that they can participate as a team, not only during practices and games, but together during their lunch, during their community events, all of the things that they do together to build that team camaraderie.
Last question on my end. In your opinion, are there any risks to sort of opening this Pandora's box not just financially? So one, what are the financial risks? And one, what are the possible risks to enrollment if people want to start perhaps pulling their kids away from the traditional school system and we're now losing enrollment? Can you just briefly talk about what your opinions are about those things?
So if we were to end up the only school district in the county that we're allowing, there could be some cost implications for the number of students that are participating, is what I could see. And then also, like I mentioned earlier, the potential movement into higher conferences by the UIL. So those are the things that I feel that we could put our current students that are enrolled full-time at risk of potentially being moved into a conference for that.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I have a question about the last comment. You said that
Trustee
you
Oster?
were worried about the shift to a higher league, right?
Correct.
What is the number, like the expansion number that's going to force you into that higher?
So it depends. The 4A conference right now, I believe, is at 1,100 students. 5A conference, which is 5 of our high schools, sits at 1,260. And then anything over 1,260 is considered would go into a 6A conference.
Okay. So, what was the last number that you had just said?
1,260 is the 5A
1260, and the
cutoff.
previous one was 1,200?
Yes, sir.
So a potential of 400 students increase to push you into a higher bracket, right?
So it depends on where the school currently sits. So our schools vary in enrollment.
Right. I can't see that many homeschool students coming in and pushing you up into a higher bracket. You see what I'm saying?
Sure. And then, like I
can't see
said,
that.
we just gotta consider also the multiplication factor that the UIL will use which would be with potentially 1.5
For each student,
for each student on the campus.
not just the homeschool student,
Right.
for every student on the campus.
Right. That's
I
correct. And
apologize.
no, I could hear you. But what we're saying is that we allow homeschool students, then the entire school district is counted at 1.5. Yes, sir. That's through the UIL.
That's UIL.
That's UIL policy.
I might add, being the only district that could potentially carry this waiver would also draw not just from our EPISD boundaries, but citywide interest coming into our district just for the homeschool, for the opportunity of athletics. It's because it's not something that's been ever practiced in any of our school districts. The challenge there is the unknown of how many potential students that would come in for that opportunity, and financially, we are not prepared to have that budget identified to see what that impact would be.
Last comment, I promise.
Trustee Call?
I hear what you're saying, Ms. Aguirre, but I think we could, in my opinion, we could try this for a year, and if it's a drain on the budget, we can always pull the plug, correct? Like, we can reverse course on this at any time, right? Like, we can do the opt-out at any point. It doesn't, I mean, we can try it for 1 year.
Based on the decision of this policy, you are correct. The policy would have to come back to the board for approval if we were to reverse the decision.
And there's a deadline to do that as well every year. And just to be clear, you know, if all the other school districts in the area are opting out, you need to know that a student could participate at any geographical school that's closest. So we wouldn't be just looking at students that are non-enrolled that live in our geographical district, but then you're looking at the geographical area for all of the districts, especially for the other ones that have opted out.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion.
I move that the board adopt the proposed revisions to Board Policy FM Local Student Activities as presented.
Can I get a second?
Second.
That is a motion by Trustee Leverage and a second by Trustee Cuellar. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
That is 4 in favor, 3 opposed. This motion carries.
I'm sorry, Trustee Osterlin, I didn't hear your vote.
No, I didn't press the button, I'm sorry.
Okay, could you, which way
Yes.
did you vote?
In favor.
Okay, thank you.
So that is 5-2. Thank you. Our next item is item 3, adjournment. The time is now 11:29, and this meeting is adjourned.